Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Melanie. This is Adventures in Hostessville, and welcome to episode 24 of the Vintage Magazine Project and the final week of the June 1972 Cosmo. Ba-da-bum, ba-dum-bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's episode 24, which is halfway through the year, which is very exciting. So if you are enjoying these, if you could subscribe here on YouTube and maybe also hit like, that would be awesome. So the article I want to take a look at today is from the decorating section, and it is called Bad Girl Beds. Make your bed so that he will lie in it. Remember when sheets were virginal white, always hidden away beneath a blanket or a spread? Now linen's lib is here, and sheets are showy come-ons that say, quite frankly, won't you step into my bedroom? So this is the perfect time to do this article because, as many of you know, just this last week, I arrived in Michigan to do a summer theater gig, and my artist housing is cute and perfect and like 20 feet from the theater, which is great. But the bedroom is not a dreamy come-on, which is okay. I don't think I'm going to need to come on to anybody in the next 10 weeks, but you know what? Like the new 70s clothes, today's sheets come in an abundance of patterns to mix, match, and layer. Don't be hesitant about putting two bold prints together. If their colors blend, the total look will be terrific. Okay, well, there are sort of an abundance of colors and patterns here. There's this black body pillow. There's this red pillow. There's these pillows that don't actually have pillow sheets at all. There's this blue blanket, and then the sheets are this kind of, there's a big hole in that, grayish pattern. It's not unattractive, and there actually are some of these pillows match it, but it doesn't exactly say slide on in. The good thing is the blanket that I brought from home is this one that has these polka dots on one side and these stripes on the other side. So it's already doing part of the job for me, but I want the sheets to be more colorful as well. So I also brought these sheets from home. They're falling to pieces. They have holes all over them, and I was really just going to use them as packing material, but I'm gonna put these on instead of this gray business and see if I can linen's lib my bed a little bit. So women's lib is definitely all over this magazine. There's an article, a regular column in here called The Analyst's Couch by Dr. Renatus Hartogs, MD, PhD, psychiatrist, and psychoanalyst, where people can write in questions that they would ask an analyst if they had one. So the woman that writes into this magazine this month is asking, she says, I don't really like being friends with women. I don't really like women. I think they're dumb. I like to hang out with men because they're superior, and therefore I am also superior. It's very weird. But then she asks Dr. Renatus Hartogs, she says, you know, this whole new women's liberation movement is making me wonder if there might be something wrong with my attitude towards women. Renatus Hartogs gives her about the most 1972 shrink advice you can possibly imagine. Maybe subconsciously you're a homosexual and that makes you nervous. Or maybe subconsciously you have a death wish towards all your rivals and you're scared of what you might do. Or maybe your mother didn't love you enough. And he suggests that what she might do is join this women's liberation consciousness raising group. Apparently, right around when this magazine came out, he was being sued for inducing his patient to have sex with him. Okay, here's what I think the problem is. This is a double sheet because I have a double bed at home. This is a queen size bed. This isn't going to fit. So it does also say the most important thing is that the color and pattern are flattering. Pillowcases and sheets can do as much for your glowing skin tone as cosmetics can. There are these pink sheets that were also here, and I washed them so that they do not smell like Fabulosa. Okay, so it turns out the pink sheets had holes in them too, but hopefully the cosmetic-like quality of the sheets will mean that anyone who ends up in my bed will be distracted by my glow and not paying attention to the holes. Okay, but I still need to deal with pillowcases because the pink sheets didn't have pillowcases with them. I went to Target because I needed things because I just moved in, and these green pattern ones were on clearance. So Renatus Hartogs is a psychiatrist. He, I think, was born in Germany and had worked in Belgium quite a bit, and moved to America, I think, in like the late 40s. And in the 1950s, he was working for a place called Youth House, which was sort of like the mental institution version of a juvenile delinquent. In the late 60s, he writes a book about one of the kids that he had interviewed. That kid's name was Lee Harvey Oswald. And he's got a little spurt of fame there. But he's also working in private practice. He also has this column. In 1969, a woman named Julie Roy comes to him for treatment. She has just gotten out of a marriage. The divorce was really, really bad. She sort of rebounded into this kind of messy lesbian affair that she didn't feel good about at all. Now she is mostly just picking up men in nightclubs and having one-night stands, which again, like, do what you want to do, but she doesn't feel good about it. So she goes to see him for therapy, and after a couple of weeks, he says, you know, I think I know what might be really therapeutic for you. Maybe you should have sex with me. It's getting pretty sensuous in here, but if you look at this article at all, you will know that curtains are an enormous part of the equation. There are 3 different windows in this cabin, and they're all have different curtains. In the living room area, there are these curtains that have this kind of fun chandelier pattern on them. It's kind of great. So what Renatus Hartogs is doing by trying to induce his patient to have sex with him is certainly unethical. It is not, however, illegal. And in fact, in June of 1972, the cover story in New York Magazine is called The Sensuous Psychiatrist, subtitle, Should You Sleep with Your Therapist? These curtain rods are apparently not standard, though. I thought that I could slide it in and make it smaller to fit this window, but I can't, so I'm gonna just take this off. So the article does also reference Dr. Hartogs, and all he will say and comment is the suit was dropped. But there's another psychiatrist named Martin Shepard who has written a book right around this time as well called The Love Treatment, in which he also is advocating for basically prescribing yourself. Even going back to the writings of Hippocrates from Once We Get the Hippocratic Oath, he mentions within that something Greek sounding, but it has to do with like not turning your practice into a love temple. But this theory is coming out in the 70s that it actually is good. I haven't actually had a chance to read that book, The Love Treatment, but there are many sort of scholarly articles from other psychiatrists online reviewing it, and one of the guys is like, ugh, like, you know, he's like, this book is just a fantasy book for young psychiatric students, you know, because of like the 11 cases in the book, in 10 of them, it's the patient coming on to the psychiatrist. The only case where it's the psychiatrist coming on to the patient is also the only case where the psychiatrist is a woman. So it's very much like, it's always women wanting it, and they want it from you, psychiatrist. I need a chair. Ha. And it does seem like most of the psychiatric profession is not in favor of this, but there was a study, I think it was Masters and Johnson, but I'm not 100% sure. And somewhere between 5 and 10% of them reported having had sex with their therapist. Not maybe in all cases prescribed as a treatment, but still, that's a lot. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about the linens, but obviously more sort of decor bits are needed. There's a lot of flowers in pots. Here, there's this man, if he counts as decor, he looks very confused. But then there's this like horse with these brightly colored things on it and this little castle in the back and like a whole family of Hindu saints or something. Autobiography of Admiral Dewey. Okay, so I'm gonna work with what I have. There's this crockery mixing bowl, which I'll probably move to the kitchen and use as a mixing bowl. And then there are these two Coke goblets full of beer caps, which isn't necessarily my style. I think that it goes well with a lot of the things I was left in the kitchen, which is a home wrecker size bottle of sweet and sour mix and a couple of tiny shots of Malibu almond. I've got a cocktail shaker, again in line with a previous person's taste, but I might be able to use that for flowers. And then I got these candle things at Target, which I think match the decor really well. So the thing that makes Julie Roy and Renatus Hartogs different than a lot of these other psychiatrists who are sleeping with their patients is because she sues him and she actually wins. So she met him in 1969. She is with him for about 14 months, during which he also has her do his typing. And apparently that's really common too. A lot of women have reported that their therapists have them serve as babysitters and sort of caterers and all sorts of stuff. This is another thing that is kind of common among these women's complaints is they say, you know, for a while he's having sex with me, but then suddenly I'm also doing his typing, and then, you know, I'm just doing the typing, he's not having sex with me anymore because there's a new, younger patient. In fact, one woman reports having been in the office with her therapist, and she says, you know, when I would come for these hour-long sessions, I would show up, we would have sex, I would pay him his $20 and then leave because they're still paying for this. They were in the middle of this session and the doorbell starts ringing and it's ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and he won't answer it. And she ultimately looks out the window and sees that there's this woman there crying, and she even says she realized like, oh, that's me in a year. So in any case, however it happened, the sexual part of the relationship between Julie Roy and Renatus Hartogs is over, and she crashes. She goes into this deep, deep depression. She is suicidal. She has to be hospitalized. She's far worse off than she was in the first place, and she ends up suing him. And at first his defense is to say, well, I didn't do it, and you can know that I didn't do it because I have this tumor that doesn't allow for me to have sex. But they call in as witnesses a couple of other of his former patients that are like, well, he managed to have sex with me. And he says, well, okay, but all this other stuff she's saying isn't true, and the problem is that she's an incurable schizophrenic. Is that true? I don't know. But you'd be more likely to believe him if he wasn't trying to get out of a $1.25 million lawsuit for having had sex with her. Just don't do it, and then you don't have to worry about it. Oh, this is going to be hard. You can't get at it without burning your fingers. Who designed this? It's probably why they were only $3. Okay, I just checked to see if there might be a tongs in here. There's not. There's 3 bottle openers and a corkscrew. I'll just keep doing it this way. So anyway, so he does lose. He doesn't have to pay the full $1.25 million. He ends up paying $250,000 in compensatory damages and I think $100,000 in punitive. And the reason is that they say, well, he actually did think that that would help, so so he's not malicious, he's just a lousy doctor. All right, I think that this turned out pretty well. I don't know if it's gonna like draw a line of people to my door waiting to get in here, but if it does, that's no problem because, as Cosmo tells me, one man is not enough. But we don't have time to do that article because next week we're on to a new magazine. We'll see you all next week. Did I shave? There we go. Do you want to get in here?